Welcome to Weekend Wrap Up, Episode 6. And I'm your host, Drummond, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about March Madness Elite 8, Andre Drummond to the Lakers, and Aldridge to the Nets. And the Aldridge to the Nets segment and Drummond to the Lakers will kind of be combined with how I talk about them. So it's not going to be like I'm going to talk about Drummond first and then Aldridge. It's just going to be combined. So my blog on my website is up. It's going to be up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today's is about if the Nets are going to win a championship. And once I get to the Drummond Lakers and Aldridge Nets segments, I'll talk about it. And now we can start talking about March Madness Elite 8. The first game, we got Oregon State versus Houston. Oregon State has had such a great run through this tournament, and Houston nearly lost to Rutgers. And that was tense because my final four, like my bracket's obviously busted by now, but my final four involved Houston. So luckily they got the dub there. Arkansas Baylor. Arkansas has dodged so many bullets throughout this whole tournament. They caught up against Colgate and then lost because the player missed a layup. And then Max A. Smith, he played well, but he missed the game winning three. Arkansas easily could have been out before the Sweet 16. And they're playing Baylor. It should be easy work for them. USC Gonzaga. Gonzaga's undefeated, 29-0. USC 25-7. USC has been playing lights out basketball, and they're being matched up against the best college team, so that's going to be a great game. UCLA, Michigan, they've also had a great run similar to Oregon State, but I think Michigan will handle UCLA, but it's March Madness. Anything can happen. That's why it's called March Madness. And now Drummond to the Lakers and Aldridge to the Nets. First, LaMarcus Aldridge went to the Nets, and then Andre Drummond went to the Lakers. And I remember seeing this on Saturday. I was playing football and basketball with my friends outside. And I'm like, I was so mad when I saw Aldridge to the Nets because the Nets, they signed Kyrie Irving. They traded for James Harden. They signed Kevin Durant. They signed Blake Griffin. They signed LaMarcus Aldridge. And then people are comparing them to the Warriors. And I'm like, really? Because when you look at the Warriors, they signed depth. They signed Iguodala. They went through a whole entire rebuild. The Nets sucked, and then Kyrie came, KD came. And now they're literally buying their way to a championship. And I think that's fair to say because the Nets have not drafted anyone, absolutely anyone, in their starting lineup. Because obviously Kyrie wasn't drafted by the Nets. KD wasn't drafted by the Nets. Griffin and Aldridge are signing on veterans minimum. And Joe Harris, he was not even drafted by the Nets either. He was drafted by the Cavaliers in 2014. And they're not buying their way because of Joe Harris, but when Aldridge should be getting paid veterans minimum. Drummond to the Lakers, I feel like that happened because the Nets keep signing so great players who should be getting paid more. I feel like there should be a rule where if a player has had a certain amount of all-star games, they can't get a veterans minimum because that's how teams get overpowered. And people complained about the Warriors having a super team. They drafted Stephen Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. And if you wanted Draymond Green, they got him in the second round. So Bob Myers clearly knew what he was doing. He was the perfect GM for a team to have. And this is just an example of a super team. The Nets are an example of a super team. Warriors, They got their own super team because they rebuilt, they drafted, they built chemistry among one another instead of, or let's sign this player, let's trade this player, maybe draft a player here and there. That's what the Brooklyn Nets have done. And referring to my blog, this is the Nets championship to lose. And you might ask, oh, Armand, how is it the Nets championship to lose? Well, it's their championship to lose because with all these players with so much skill, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't at least be in the finals. If the Nets lose before, oh my God, imagine the scenes that will be when they lose, or if they lose. Because the Lakers aren't going to repeat as long as AD and LeBron James aren't healthy. They're not going to repeat. They need to be 100%. Look at the Lakers. They were on a losing streak and barely beat the Magic by 3. And that was a game where the Magic traded Aaron Gordon, Vucevic, and Evan Fournier. Literally, they're stars. They traded, and you only beat them by 3. So Lakers, it's not their championship to lose anymore, even though they are the defending champions. The Nets aren't the defending champions, but there is zero reason why they shouldn't win a championship. As much as as a Warriors fan, I don't want to see James Harden win a championship, but I think the Nets are going to win. And even though they didn't win the championship last year, this is definitely their championship to lose with the amount of skill they have. Thanks for tuning in to episode 6 of Weekend Wrap Up. Tune in for episode 13 of the Normal Everything Sports with Someone podcast, or if you like Weekend Wrap Up, tune in. Next week, I might do a March Madness special live stream, not sure yet. But if I don't, there's going to be a Weekend Wrap Up episode 7, so tune in this Friday or next Monday.